No, I forgot. Charlie, how you doing? Tally, how you doing? Yes, everybody is coming in. It is very exciting. Sorry, guys, I forgot to put up a an ad for the show this morning or last evening. I totally forgot. I spaced it. Louise, how you doing, buddy? Lee Kenton, Free Candy. Everybody is here this morning. I am very excited. Look at this. Everybody's here, and I didn't place an ad. Maybe I won't place ads anymore. Matt Pez, hello to you too. Hippie of the Hills, how you doing? All right, guys, it's a mad gone world. So, plenty to talk about. I'm excited to be here. I hope you guys all had a wonderful weekend. If you were on Periscope or YouTube, shoot me a comment to let me know you're there. I am re-streaming, so it is difficult to see you guys if you don't shoot me a comment. And if you do watch this from YouTube or Periscope land, shoot me a message. Let me know you enjoy the show. Egan from Florida, how are you doing? New people need the ads. Well, yeah, I know. I woke up this morning and I realized I didn't make a Insta ad. There's a lot of things that I need to be doing for this morning show. I recently had gotten a message on YouTube that it would behoove me to place timestamps of the topics of the show because people's time is valuable and I am wasting it. Let's just start there for a second. All right, yeah. Would it be nice to have timestamps for the show? Sure, it would be nice to have timestamps for the show. However, it's a half an hour long. It's the same format every day. You know, I love how people go on YouTube and then they just start complaining about everything. Why don't you, who's complaining about the timestamps, put in the timestamps in the comments? That way, you could give me a helping hand. How about somebody be high value and help me out? Why is it that if I create a piece of content that the only comments I get is people telling me how to make it better? Yeah, Tolly, let's sock it to them. Oh, we have time. All we have is time in quarantine. I know, right? Charlie says it must be one of his clients. Yeah, you know, here's the thing about that. I don't like to have this frame of perception about certain things. However, as I explained on this show a million times, your perspective that you go into your experience with will dictate what you get out of it. So for me, if I'm looking at entertainment that is on YouTube to post what is wrong with it, right? That tells you about the frame in which I am viewing this material. And if that's the frame from which I'm viewing the material, I am watching it through a critical, which isn't bad, but also a negative lens. That negative lens is going to dictate how I relate to the material, but it also dictates how I relate to the world around me. To just, and I don't mean to be bitching about it this morning, but my point in that is you can tell a lot about people by the comments that they leave. Now, I'm not saying that this is a horrible person, and I'm not saying that they need to change their tune. All I'm doing is making a simple observation of how this plays out in your life. Think about it. You stumble upon my YouTube video, however you found it, then you watch it, and then your first instinct is to tell me what I'm doing wrong. How about a thank you for the video? How about you enjoyed the insights? To to waste your energy just to complain doesn't seem very beneficial to you. And not only that, and this is why I'm pointing it out, because if you happen to catch yourself doing something like that, you can change it. Now, are some people, does this person want to change? Maybe, maybe not. I wanted to point that out. And here's the other thing about it. You hear this idea that the people who complain and bitch and attack people on Facebook or social media live lives that would express commentary in that manner. Is there a correlation? Yes, absolutely. So, Emil Morgan says, I love your content. I learned a lot from you guys. I am really thankful. Well, thank you very much. And thank you for the wonderful comment over in YouTube land. See, it's not so difficult. But my point in that is you have a decision about how you're going to live your life through the world. Now, and you can behave in a manner that allows you to extract all the goodness from it. Think of your day like a lemon, and you're squeezing the juices from that lemon, to use a Led Zeppelin quote. But that's what you're doing. You're maximizing the good stuff. So Lewis says, I have a sister that is exactly like that. She posts a lot of negative things, especially personal life, and it is just tough watching it. Absolutely, it is tough watching that. Also, knowing that you can change that. When you see somebody who is having trouble as they go through life, and you have an experience or a lifestyle that has a direct result of fixing said issues, well, then you want to help people. But remember how you got there. You may have not gotten there because somebody asked you to change your behavior or pointed out something to you. You probably ended up in that position because you've bashed your head off the wall one too many times and decided that you were just not going to do it that way again. And that is the moment that things change. We're all there. So it's important. Free candy. All I do is make sarcastic marks, and probably not funny to anyone but me. Well, I think we all do that as well. There's a difference, I would say, between being a smart ass and just being a negative person. Now, that's an objective perspective that you might have, but I want you to understand that it is your day and your emotions, and you can extract from it what you want. Boy Meets Many says, the people who post negativity should start journaling. It's a great way to process it privately. Absolutely. But that involves work, and most people are unwilling to do that work. All right. So that was my little rant this morning on that comment. But you have this choice. And how about this? If my content and the YouTube videos bother you because there's no timestamps, you want to blow somebody's mind, you want to show your appreciation, how about you take 5 minutes and you put the timestamps in for the 30-minute episode as a gesture of your appreciation for the show and the content for others to be able to see. You know, I have put timestamps in some of the shows, but anyone who does creation in any realm understands the amount of work that goes into said projects. And sometimes after you're finished, you just don't even want to look at it again, let alone put timestamps into it. I wish I was that much of an obsessive to go all the way to the end of putting timestamps. Now, watch me today as I put in the items for YouTube for this video. Watch me put in the timestamps today because now I've been called out. That's how it works. But, this is my point is rather than complain, show some value. These are mindset shifts that allow you to that allows you to experience the world differently than the day before if you just enact on them. So, all right. Couple other things I wanted to talk today. It is Monday. That means The Art of Charm has dropped a new episode. And this week, let me see, it is the Dr. Michael Gervais episode. Dr. Michael Gervais is a sports psychologist, a high performance psychologist. Excuse me. And he works with the Seattle Seahawks. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he is one of the first sports psychologists that have found his way onto the field during games. So what does that tell you about how much Pete Carroll enjoys this man's insight that he will allow him on the field during games? And I found this pretty exciting because, of course, my obsession with psychology, philosophy, and all things self-development, when you think of athletes, you think of the best, especially when I'm speaking of professional athletes. I think of elite human beings in the physical realm. They are able to physically push themselves and do things that most of us are otherwise unable to ever reach such heights in performance. Not only that, think of as you go through the league of maybe you play t-ball as a kid and you might be the best kid on the block. And then you start playing t-ball in school and you turn out to be the most talented kid in the school. And then Little League, you start to realize that you have been gifted physical attributes that allow you to be the best kid now in a district. Wow. And then you find yourself maybe in high school, you're still the best kid in the district. You make all state and now you're at college. While you're at college, you start to see that there are other kids around the country and possibly the world who seem to be in close proximity of your talents. And for the first time in your life, you've been challenged mentally, emotionally, and physically by the other kids, by the other athletes on your own team, as well as others. And then you start to realize that, and to get into the pros, that there is now going to be a competition in which you had never seen before. And then once you make that leap, you are now in a position where you are playing against the best of the best, and you realize that without dedication, without practice, without giving your 110% of yourself committed to making either yourself and your team better in order to get the next paycheck and in order to reach the heights of the best, which would be a championship of some sort for whatever team that you're on. Now, think about, how do you get to that next level? how do you, as a young man who has always been performing at such an elite level, continue to grow with all of that pressure? Well, number one, you need a coach, one that you can trust, one that you know will be honest with you so that you can continue growing. So you can continue growing now that you're at the most elite level. Now, what else needs to be fixed? You're now being pushed mentally. You're now being pushed physically in that physical realm. However, think about the doors and perceptions about yourself and the world around you that you would need to be open so that there would be no mental hurdle for you to advance your skills to places that you have never seen before. And how would you get to such a place like that if you didn't have somebody who is able to hear the language and see behaviors that would represent some sort of hurdle or roadblock that would need to be taken out from in front of you so you can reach those levels? That is the sports psychology that Dr. Gervais is at and has been trusted with for a Super Bowl caliber American sports team. So I was very excited to have that interview. And one of the things that he had talked about, at least in our interview, was this idea of philosophy and your personal philosophy, that no matter how much difficulty you might be having in your life or on the field, that you would default to in order to continue moving forward. And that philosophy is important. He says it's like a mantra. It is a philosophy that you can lean on during those tough times. Now, I believe we brought up Viktor Frankl in this episode briefly, but because the philosophy that you're going to have needs to be wrapped around some sort of why. The question of why. Why are you doing this? Why is this so important to you? Why do we need to break through this place that we're at in order to achieve this next higher realm? That's where the philosophy is going to come from. And that philosophy needs to be wrapped around the perfect why. Viktor Frankl, his why was to help others. Now, I believe Viktor Frankl, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I read too much, was a Jewish doctor at one of the German concentration camps in World War II. And he was able to survive because of his want, need, and his why of helping those around him make it through by placing his concerns into making sure that everyone else survived around him. He was able to survive. That was his philosophy. That was his why. When you have a why that is strong enough, and this is Viktor Frankl, is when you have the why, you can find your way through anything. The man who has a why is able to find a how. This is the old saying from Viktor Frankl that we all need to remember. So if you have goals or heights that which you want to climb in your career, mentally, physically, emotionally, you're going to need to find a why and a philosophy that wraps itself around that why. Anything less would be a junk philosophy. And the junk philosophy, this was interesting to me because I had asked the question on that podcast, what is a junk philosophy. And this was Ayn Rand saying that junk philosophies are just that. It's a philosophy that doesn't get you anywhere. And if you look around in today's society with the marketing of brands and the commercialization of co-opted movements, you hear philosophies that don't really lead to any sort of happiness about serving your fellow man, being a positive unit within your community. The philosophies that you hear, it usually revolves around the hedonic treadmill of making yourself feel better, making as much money as possible, making enough money as amount of money as possible is not a why. That's a hedonic chasing situation. Now, if you tie making that amount of money to a noble goal of helping those around you or being able to build something that helps the world around you, well, now you have a more purposeful why. But just, hey, make money, meet ladies it's a great philosophy when you're 22 years old, but it's not going to get you very far. And the things that you chase, and I've stated this a lot of times, things that you chase tend to turn into your God. And things that you chase tend to move away from you. And so this is why, rather than things that you're chasing, it should be why. The why are you chasing these things? Why do you need this money? Why do you need? Because then you will find out. You will find something that is deeper that you can work on. If making that money is going to help you feel better so you can party it up, well, think about how long that party can go until you get bored or until you realize that party has not gotten you what it is that you have been searching for and have been told that money would be the answer to. Now, does money buy you happiness? I would imagine a certain amount. I'm not going to argue with that. There's a certain amount of well-being and calmness that comes with understanding that your bills are paid. But what is the real reason that we tend to chase these things? You know it, I know it, an animal knows it. And the reason being is to feel better about ourselves and the world around us. And you can get that in other ways. You can get that by challenging yourself. You can get that by showing appreciation. You can get that by helping those around you. But the more challenges that you put out in front of yourself with a diet and exercise and creativity and learning new skills and always finding the next challenge, you are filling a bucket with events and satisfactions and victories that fill you up so that natural hole in your heart as a human being doesn't get filled by something else, something evil, chasing around the hedonic treadmill, which leads to being miserable. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It fuels itself. This is why people who tend to chase those things, after receiving a certain amount of victories, whether it's money or girls or power, they find that feeling is still there because the victories do not fill that hole that's within all of us. That hole is the social aspect of being a human being and the need to help others. And so once you realize that no matter how much money it is that you make, that feeling will be there. And then you tend to start to shift gears in finding out how you can quell that. Hello, Nicole. How are you doing today? Charlie says a lot of people cannot deal with things that are not going the way that they want to. Absolutely not. And it is your perspective that is going to help with that. Now, to go back to Dr. Gervais, finding a good why of why you're doing things, and then wrapping a philosophy around it, a mantra around it that allows you to lean on that philosophy when things get tough. So, for instance, if the why of me doing this show is to reach as many people as possible, to give them tools in which they can navigate a joyful life and lift up others around them, then the philosophy of doing what I got to do to get these ideas in front of the most people as possible make it easy for me. So let's say that that's the why. So if I get asked the question, do you want to A, B, or C? I have to ask myself, well, does A, B, or C allow me to reach more people with this message? The more people I meet, the more people I reach with this message, the more lives are changed, the better the world is. So now I have a perfect pathway that I can choose because I have the right why with the right philosophy. Do you see how decision making has been taken off the table? Because when you have the right why and the right philosophy, the path has been lit for you. There is no questioning what your answer is going to be, because you have the right why with the right philosophy. Everything else, the philosophies that don't lead to your end result, your why, will be junk philosophies. The philosophies that allow you to help you light up the path to reach your goal will be your personal philosophy. So that's what I have for you guys today. Make sure you check out the episode with Dr. Gervais we have released today. It is great. He's amazing. It was a good time. This is the second time in the last month that we had two sports coaches or people who work for sports leagues. Number one was David Nurse, a basketball hoops coach, and Dr. Gervais. It is really nice to hear the insides for the best of the best, for the most elite of the elite, and how they help them get through. Because just like with self-development, on the show, we talked a lot about cognitive behavioral therapy. We talk a lot about acceptance, commitment therapy. We talk a lot about self-development, philosophy. Because if you add these tools to your natural everyday existence in your life and who you are as a person, these become superpowers. These become the superpowers that allow you to reach the heights that you can reach. Your self-actualization. These become your X-Factor. And your X-Factor is what is going to take you to the heights that you so desire in yourself. So with that, check out the episode. Let us know how you feel about it. If you're checking us out on YouTube or Periscope, shoot me a message. Let me know you're digging the show. I will see you guys tomorrow morning.